What do you think neck pain and shoulder pain mean? Think about it. Just think, okay? Let's go through this journey together. I don't like to give people answers. I like to help people find the answer. Think about it, okay? Stress is good. Tension, yes, we know that. So we're talking about stress and tension live on our shoulders. What do you do in both of these areas? Lack of dopamine is a little deeper, and that's not necessarily just on the shoulders. Kaleidoscope, I love that. Holding too much, carrying too much. Perfect. Okay, let's go a little deeper. That's one element. What do you do on your shoulders? Think about Atlas, right? Atlas was like a Greek figure. I'm not sure if you have read or know about it, but Atlas was a Greek figure who carried the world on his shoulders. When you feel like I'm carrying too much weight, I'm carrying too much stress, where do you carry it? On your shoulders, right? So the shoulders are meant to carry weight. So when we're carrying a lot of weight, or when we're feeling a lot of pain on our shoulders, it's because we're carrying a lot of weight. That's your body trying to tell you, hey, are you carrying way too much shit on your shoulders? Are you carrying other people's shit on your shoulders? Where are you showing up for yourself, Jess? Where are you showing up for yourself, Tom? Like, are you holding everybody else's trauma only within you? Are you carrying all of their weight? Are you finding ways to be able to let go of some of the weight? Are you going to like spaces where you can dissipate some of the weight, or are you just absorbing and absorbing and absorbing? Now, this is another like aspect to it. So remember, all of these things are not just your body and not just your mind. They are your body and your mind. That's how intelligent we are. So psychosomatics. Psycho is the mind, soma is the body. So your body is telling your mind that you're holding too much fucking weight. Even in here, you're absorbing too much fucking like stress from everybody, even in here, or you're taking too much responsibility. Now, when you dig a step deeper and you're like, why would I take so much responsibility? And you're like, because I want to help people. Okay, next question. Why do I want to help people at a cost of my own safety and my own health? Next question. Oh, maybe that's because I want to seem valuable. Next question. Why do I want to seem so valuable to people? Maybe because when I was growing up, the only time that I actually received love was when I was useful to somebody. Now, you have gone from simple motherfucking shoulder pain all the way back psychosomatically into one of the biggest roots of your trauma. And your body has probably been telling you this for fucking like, decades. And instantly it came to this point where it said, wow, this is why I'm fucking carrying everybody's weight so much. This is why I'm trying to help people so much when it comes at my cost. Let me tell you something about this, guys. There is no fucking gold medal for martyrdom, for being a hero. Unfortunately, there isn't. There's validation, and then there's going back home and then feeling all the pain while we're alone, being like, oh my God, I'm just like in so much fucking pain, even though I've helped everybody around me. I came from a very strong Christian upbringing where it was very much like, oh no, you must help everybody else. And like, that's how you will go to the gateways of heaven. I love religion and spirituality. Don't get me wrong. I have a tattoo on actually 2 tattoos on my arms relating to it. But the messaging was a messaging used by other human beings to control in many ways. That's the unfortunate circumstance of what religion had done, is there's so much beauty in all religions. But the people who were teaching it realized, they were like, well, we can use this to fucking control people and to tell them and to get them to do what we want. Why is none of it that says like, okay, if you thrive and you stand on top of a mountain and you lead 1 million people, and if you get all the riches and the wealth, you can give so much, you can be so successful? None of that's there. Why? Because then you will hold power that's above what they have. Sorry, I digress. But, I'm very philosophical as well, and so I'll go on to a tangent. But coming back to the weight on your shoulders. Now think about the neck, right? You're talking about the neck and stiffness. Yes, tension absolutely gets stored in the neck. Here's another really cool fact for you guys. So adrenaline is the stress hormone that gets you really agitated, right? Everybody knows about that. Cortisol is another stress hormone, but that's meant to counteract adrenaline. Think like sugar and insulin in your body. That's kind of like adrenaline and cortisol. Doesn't mean cortisol is good. In fact, the more adrenaline you secrete, listen to this, guys, the more adrenaline you secrete, the more cortisol you have to secrete. Now, cortisol is also stored in fat cells, which is crazy because the more cortisol you secrete, the more fat you have to have on your body so that you can store and have this cortisol, which therefore perpetuates the cycle of saying, I have to, when you feel stressed, the next thing you do when you have the come down is like, I just want to sit and eat ice cream all day. I just want to like go in a shelter and not move. I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like doing anything, because that's what cortisol does. It puts on a lot of weight, decreases your metabolism, because it came from the prehistoric way of when a person has to go into like a cave, right? So think about in the early days when they were fighting like saber-tooth tigers and blah blah blah, they had adrenaline to run away from the animal. And then if they were like found themselves in a place where they had to hide away from the animal, the body would secrete cortisol so that they would decrease their metabolism so they wouldn't get that hungry. They would not have to be able to like break down all their like muscles and everything, so they'd secrete fat to keep themselves warm and dormant. Dormant is the word for cortisol. So now coming back to the neck thing, right? Because that's where we were. When you get stressed, you have a whole amount of adrenaline that's actually running through your mind, like running through your body and into your head. And have you noticed when a dog gets stressed, or when like you probably see it with the hyenas, but you see it with animals, lions, tigers, when they get stressed, what happens? The hair on their back stands, right? Have you noticed that? That's because their nervous system is very agitated. When you get really stressed, you will notice, you'll start to get goosebumps a lot of the time. The hair on your back of the neck, very small fibrils, like will stand. But also, adrenaline stiffens up muscles like fuck. So you will start to feel the muscles in your neck tighten because your stress hormones are basically shortening your muscle fibers. Isn't that a fucking mindfuck? Your stress hormones are shortening your muscle fibers. And so you are now having all of this like stiffness and tightness in your neck. You're like, where the fuck is this coming from? You don't even have to do exercise to feel it. You don't even have to like have like an injury to feel it. It's just the stress that's doing it. And stress eats up your organs. It like literally like eats up all the fat level around your organs. It's terrible. The things that stress does to you, like after this call, if you like, go and Google it and it'll just blow your mind. It is actually the #1 killer for all of us today. Cancers are basically in various forms. Like I have a beautiful story about psychosomatics of a very close family friend who had breast cancer and was able to heal it purely by being able to heal her trauma and her mind. Remember, we talked about the chest being around grief, and so like naturally your breasts are around your chest. And so she was my mom's best friend, and it was crazy to be able to witness her entire story of how she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, was supposed to die in 6 months, and now she's like lived 12 years after that first diagnosis, and it's amazing. But that was because she tried chemo, she did everything, it wasn't working, and so she had to step into this place to heal it. I'll give you a quick example about my knee injury, right? So I have a right knee injury, which I used to play soccer professionally. I don't know if you guys know about it. I've had like 3 surgeries on my body, etc. And at that time, I didn't know about psychosomatics. And so I was playing soccer last year, but wasn't professional. I was playing with some friends, but I hurt my right knee really bad. And when I hurt my knee bad, it was like really bad. Like couldn't climb the stairs, couldn't stand on my leg, like zero balance, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's really interesting about this injury is I knew that the easiest thing, if I was a professional still, I would have said, okay, I have to go get surgery because like I have to fix it like this. But I said, this time I don't have to go get surgery. I said, let me look into what this means for me. Now, the right side of your body corresponds to the masculine side of your body. The left side corresponds to the feminine side, which means the energies on the right side are, like I said, the ones that come from masculine elements, the left that come from more feminine elements. Now, the knees correspond with your ego, because when you have a locked knee, your knee is meant to be rigid and flexible, right? So when you have a locked knee, it basically means, or when you have knee pain, it basically means you're being too rigid. That means you're sticking to your ego. Now, your ego, just to tell you guys in this concept, in this field, is not just like, oh, I'm cocky, I'm brave. It's like, no, that's not what the ego is. The ego is any strong identity of yourself that you use as a protection mechanism. So for a lot of people, it can range for us from being someone who's like, you think about the avoidance. So like, I have no emotions. I don't want to talk about my emotions. I don't want anything. That's when your ego is showing up really strongly because it's a protective mechanism. You think about right from the victimized state, where we're always like, people are always hurting me. People never understand me. They're always causing me pain. That's also a state of where the ego shows up, because that's a victimized and a protective state for us to not go and see where our pain lies and our trauma lies. So, and for me, it was showing up on the right side, and when my ego was showing up as being very resistant. And I realized that it was in my own story, my masculine energy, I wasn't being disciplined enough, because I was used to, like, you know, I was raised in an environment where I was made to be very empathetic, very caring, which is what makes me helps me with my job. But it also trained me not to step very heavily in like this ordered masculine space where I had to be more structured, where I had to be more disciplined, where I had to be able to like guide and hold space for people, but not in like an empathetic feeling way, but in a more leadership based way. And it was a sense of responsibility that I was avoiding. And the moment I started listening to that, like I was like, okay, what is this pain telling me? It took me a few weeks to like keep breaking it down and saying, okay, it wasn't this. No, it wasn't this. You have to do a trial and error method to change a few things. I was actually having an argument with a colleague. So I was like, and he was a male. So I was like, okay, masculine, ego, right side. I was like, could it be that? Worked that through, wasn't necessarily that. And I realized it was my own coping mechanism of the masculinity. And so when I started stepping into it, you won't believe it. My right side actually started to show so much more strength. I haven't had surgery, and now I can go for runs. I've been able to play soccer. I've been able to go to the gym. And I actually do have a torn ACL, a meniscus, and a PCL. But I take such good care physically and emotionally now of that particular aspect that my body is starting to heal the injury so much faster than it would normally. So, you know, it's just that same concept of bringing it back to you guys that if you have any pain, if you really want to create a sustainable solution for yourself, if you have any pain, you have any trauma, first listen to yourself. Before you go to the doctor, before you run to someone else to say, hey, here's my solution for you, swallow this, listen to your own self and use resources, because obviously you're not going to have the education about it. So do a little bit of research and look at Louise Hay's book, like buy her book. It's called Heal Yourself. If you have back injuries or anything, she even talks about each individual vertebrae, what they represent. And as you study it and you can listen more to yourself, you'll be able to get a better idea of how you're supposed to heal. More importantly, you'll get a better idea of what your mind and your body are telling you with what you're dealing with in your life right now. And that's the greatest gift you can give yourself, is the ability to evolve, the ability to have a better life. That's the greatest gift you can give yourself. If you like this video, click below to like, to share, to subscribe, to do all of those things, and follow this page, because we have so many more videos with this kind of magic, so to speak, inner work magic coming out. But make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And more importantly, if you found value in this, share this with all your friends. Much love to you.